Earnestly podcast coming to you on March 14th, 15th. What the hell date is this today? Let me check this real quick, make sure I want to get it right. It is March 15th, 2022. You think I had this prepared already before going doing the podcast, but that's just it is what it is. I have a lot to talk about today. A laundry list of topics here to talk about today on the podcast. And the reason why is because I'm going to be going out of town in a few days with my family, vacation time. And normally I try to do two of these a week. So I wanted to just get all these things into one, just kind of get it out there. So I'll probably take about between 3 and 5 minutes each topic here. It's a lot to get to in the world of sports. NFL free agency, basketball's hyping up, obviously with the NBA playoff. NBA is getting into the final month of the year before playoffs. College basketball tournament starting here. We got a lot of things to talk about here. Some political things I want to discuss a little bit. But I would be remiss to at least not mention that this week is, and I remember this because of my Facebook memories here. This week is 2 weeks since we got locked down for COVID. It feels like ages ago. Like I've been back at work pretty much since May of 2020. Now it has been normal way through the whole thing. We went through stages of getting through this thing, but I can't believe it's been 2 years. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's been so long ago. It feels like it's so long ago, and yet it's only 2 years. 2 years, and I feel like I don't know what it is, but I feel like we've all aged a little more too. We've gone through so much in the last 2 years that I feel like we've aged sometimes. I'm not saying physically, but for example, some of my friends have kids, and I haven't seen them in I haven't seen them in a couple years, never. And yes, 2 years, but it's like wow. A growth spurt or something different. Someone looks different 2 years later, and like 2 years doesn't seem significant really when in that grand scheme when things are normal. But the 2 years between 2020 and now feel like a lot has happened. So it's been 2 years, challenging times. With the pandemic, politically, spiritually, some say physically also too. But we keep moving. We keep growing. We're learning still. We're still alive to tell a tale, obviously. We keep continuing to move on and try to be a positive influence in the world. And at least I try to be. And I know people I'm definitely associated with. I try to be as well, too. So it just dawned on me that 2 years, it's been 2 years since we were locked down. I mean, and it's funny, like, those 10 weeks, because I was locked down for 10 weeks, from March 15th, whatever it was. I can't remember the exact date, but middle of March till May 23rd, I think it was. Something of that nature. It was definitely late May. And, I'm not going to lie to you. I think I said it last year when we did the 1 year anniversary of this thing. A part of me does miss it to some degree because it was, as I told you, those couple years leading up to the pandemic, I was going go. My wife and I have been going go with our work schedules and everything else. The kids were still pretty young. We were on a schedule where, it worked for us because that's what it was. Someone was home with the kids, and same here now too, but a little altered, and a little older too because now both in school. But we were so in the rat race that was the first time, probably since we had our second kid, that we actually settled down and actually sat and had a chance to, I want to call it a vacation because it wasn't obviously a vacation. It was the first time we actually had a chance to sit down as a family and just slow down and just kind of take stock in things that actually matter. No work to worry about, nothing. Obviously we couldn't see family because of what was going on. So it was just us. It was just us, trying to find things to fill our days with. It was us also, going out to get fresh air and appreciating the things we probably took for granted back then. I mean, I would say even now we look back, it's like, yeah, we took it for granted. 2 years. It's been a crazy, wild 2 years. We're getting back to normal, pretty much. I mean, people still wear masks here and there, which is obviously I don't have no problem with that. But other than that, it's been a very challenging 2 years. I learned a lot about myself, about my family, about people. So, it just like I said, it's just fun to reflect on that. And I forgot about that too. Like, it was like, wow, 2 years already, and like a lot's happened in 2 years. So anyway, so the title of this podcast today is called "Bad Times Don't Last, but Bad Guys Do." The reason why I tell that today is we had a severe loss in the world of professional wrestling. You guys know I love wrestling, obviously. I have a wrestling podcast on this feed all the time. I got another wrestling situation, other pod I'm going to be doing in the near future. Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, if you know him in WWE, WWF, age 63, passed away this past Monday. Those words were given. Those words I mentioned about the title of the podcast were words he gave at his Hall of Fame speech in 2014, and he closed the speech out with that. He passed away after complications of from a hip replacement surgery he had last week. Supposedly he fell last week, had to get his hip replaced, had hip surgery, and a blood clot got through that, and as a result, on Saturday night, supposedly he had 3 heart attacks, which put him on pretty much in a vegetable state, I guess we call it. He was on life support for the last couple, for 24 hours plus, I guess, and then they took him on life support yesterday. Scott Hall is in my top 10 favorite all-time wrestling personalities, what do you want to call it? Obviously you guys know I love Hogan, Savage, and the Shawn Michaels of the world and all that. But Scott Hall fits somewhere in the top 10. I haven't done the rankings yet. I might do that in the near future. He's somewhere in the top 10. Scott Hall made wrestling cool, man. Obviously we look back to Scott Hall's career. We think about his time as Razor Ramon. That character was really over. He started coming out as a heel and then turned to babyface at some point. His legendary matches with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 10, the ladder match, and then the ladder match the year after that, SummerSlam 95. The guy's a legend. But to me, the NWO angle, and I spoke about this last year on the podcast when we did the anniversary episode back in July of 2021 last year, and I played a clip about the start of the NWO, the first seeds, and he was the first seed. He was the first person that came out, when he signed WCW. He made wrestling so cool. Like, he was just, his character, oozing machismo and the hey yos and stuff. He was so cool. But he's also a person that went through a lot and battled through a lot and almost lost his life a few times before that, and battled through and made it out okay. And at least for the last 10 years, from what we've understand, was living pretty good. He was going through a lot of rehab. He did some stuff with DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, getting him and Jake Roberts, very public thing about them going through rehab and getting their lives in order, get off drugs and alcohol and all that. Scott Hall won those battles. Scott Hall beat those demons. Scott Hall kicked out. And, he's an example of someone that went through a lot, but just because he went through a lot doesn't mean you can't get through it. And he did. It's very sad yesterday because, again, he's one of my favorites. I was watching, yesterday after, the news came out about him, being in life support, watching some old, I love watching his matches, obviously, but his promos, especially, with the crowds and survey time and, the hey yos and one more for the good guys and all that. He was so cool. Like, he just had a aura about him. He made professional wrestling fun for me, for a lot of fans, obviously, but for me especially. When I say top 10, like, this is a guy that impacted, just the way I looked at the business. He's gonna be missed. I'm obviously praying for his family, praying for his his friends, and reading a lot of the tributes that came in, the last 24 hours, especially Kevin Nash, who was his best friend. Diesel, of course, WWE. It's touching. Yeah, it was tough. Like, I was telling a couple of friends, yesterday that celebrity deaths, people I admired, whether it's music or wrestling or sports, this is the top 10 for me, because I love Scott Hall. Like, Scott Hall was just that guy. He was just stood out, man. Like he got professional wrestling. He got it. He got the business. And it's sad. I'm glad the last 10 years he was able to live life on his terms, clean. I'm glad I was able to do that and not die then because of other things. At least something. At least he was on the up and up. It wasn't like a tragic. And I'm not saying this is not tragic, obviously, but I'm saying in terms of because of the things he went through, because he had a lot of issues. He had a lot of issues, for a long time, and he got through it. He pushed through and got through it. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Although you hear the stories, he's definitely a good guy. He's definitely a great guy. So rest in peace to Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon. No way to segue out of that situation, but we got to. So anyway, so someone else is coming back football after 40-something days of being away. Tom Brady is back playing football again. Now Tom Brady is supposed to be retired February, whatever it was, or late January, and then what was it? Super Bowl week he retired. I think it was Super Bowl week. He decided to retire. And I guess he realized, I'm not done yet. It's not. I guess life at home ain't ready for me yet. Going full bore for 22 years. 7 titles and endless awards, and then everything comes to a halt. You go home to Giselle. Obviously, that's not a bad thing to be, but you go home to Giselle, gorgeous Giselle, and your 3 kids. And I guess he realized, wait, I don't know if I'm ready for this yet. Then again, maybe he talked it out. And I'll say it again, that when I said it when this happened in the moment, I was shocked that he retired because I thought he would give it one more year. I'm shocked that he retired, and I'm equally shocked he came back because I thought once he retired, I thought once he decided to retire, it was because of family. I always said that family will be the equalizer that will keep him away, and he's always been very public about that. That when it's time, I have to consider my wife and kids, and I thought maybe at this point, because Giselle even said herself in recent years that, I want him to stop at some point, and I thought she got to him. So I was surprised because I thought maybe he would give one more go and that's it. And then he comes back now, and I'm still surprised because I'm surprised that if indeed it was family, and Giselle said, okay, we'll do one more year or whatever deal they made, and the kids, surprised that they undid it this quickly. And I'm happy. Obviously, as a football fan, I'm happy. His home life does not affect me, obviously. So I'm selfishly going to enjoy him and just the greatness of Tom Brady being back in our lives for at least another year, I guess. Sorry, just taking my mic. Yeah, okay, good. But I'm happy about it personally. I'm selfishly happy about it. But how long it goes, we'll see. We'll see how long it goes. But I'm gonna enjoy this year. Tampa, and I think also the NFC being weak right now, pretty weak most of the way. There's still space for Brady to make an impact. Now, obviously, we don't know how the team will look like. I know last year when they won the year before when they won the Super Bowl, they brought back all the starters and all that. Not sure if that will be the same situation this time around because obviously a lot of guys are gonna want to get paid and all that. But the good news for the Bucs is that the NFC South is trash. Like now, unless Deshaun Watson goes to Carolina and or New Orleans, which has been rumored right now, I don't. Tampa should win that division. At least win the division. I mean, look at the rest of the NFC. I mean, obviously the Rams are Super Bowl champions. Aaron Rodgers back with the Packers. So there's your teams to contend with, and then maybe the Cowboys. I guess maybe not. Just getting the Cowboys some false hope here. So Brady should at least be in the mix again for winning the NFC South, and probably the ceiling should be at least the NFC Championship game, maybe in the Super Bowl next year, depending on the team he has. We'll see how it goes. Another quarterback on the move. Obviously not very well renowned, but Mitchell Trubiski is going to be the quarterback for the Steelers next year. Obviously, Big Ben Roethlisberger retired for the Steelers. Terrible final year. Trubiski was a starter in Chicago a couple of years. Very mediocre, average at best career there. Although he did take the team to 2 playoff appearances with Matt Nagy, so we'll see if that translates anything. I actually don't hate this move for the Steelers, and I'll tell you why. Now you're in a situation where I'm not nothing against Matt Nagy and Adam Pace and the Bears, but they were just average at best. Okay, you're going to Mike Tomlin now. You're going to the Steelers brass, an elite defense, some really good receivers, a decent running game. Trubiski has no excuse now. No excuse now to make things work. Okay, this is opportunity. He went to Buffalo one year, sat behind Josh Allen, and we'll see. Trubiski's not look. I was not one of those that will come heavy on Trubiski, but he wasn't a horrible quarterback, but he wasn't a great quarterback. He was decent. He had moments. Like I said, but again, when you look at that value and looking at how he was drafted, he was drafted number 2 in the draft. I think it was 2017. I think it was draft. He came out 2018. The Mahomes draft, the Deshaun Watson draft. That kind of pressure. It looks bad when you don't match the expectations. A number 2 pick. And then you got Pat Mahomes, who now is already arguably a top 10 quarterback all time, or top 5 quarterback all time, at least based on the hype. Deshaun Watson, top 10 quarterback in the league right now. But he's gonna get a chance here. I think this is a good move for the Steelers. I think because they couldn't get Aaron Rodgers, they didn't get Russell Wilson. Okay, so you get a guy who has who's had years of starting. You bring him to the Steeler fold, and this should be okay. I'm not gonna say this is a perfect move for the Steelers, but I think it's not a bad move. But this is definitely Mahomes' chance to turn things around, to change the narrative about him right now. So I don't hate the move. I don't hate it at all. Everybody's saying, I don't know, Mahomes, Trubiski is this and that. I wouldn't just go there yet. I think, that in that situation, that's a pretty good situation to be in. Very stable. The Rooneys, like I said, Mike Tomlin, and how great he is. You see what he did with a terrible Big Ben last year. Still make the playoffs. So Trubiski's getting another chance. And like I said, guy went to 2 playoff appearances with Matt Nagy. So let's give him a chance here. Now, and I'm going to probably bring up this question when I do my Football's Awesome podcast. I'm scheduled to do next week. Roundtable, free agency, off-season roundtable. But there was a video / tweet I saw yesterday on Twitter. And it was done by someone a mutual follower, Ashley Baker. Shout out to Ashley Baker, of course. And she was saying something to the effect of basically that both Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes will not win another Super Bowl. Now, you see that take, you think, oh, you're insane. Like, Mahomes, he won one. The Chiefs are always in the mix. Aaron Rodgers obviously has some struggles. He won a Super Bowl as well, too. You're taking 2 elite guys still, But I thought about it. I was like, that's not a bad take, actually. Because think about it this way. Aaron Rodgers is 38 years old. Okay? Now, the Packers are a really good team. But he has not gone to a Super Bowl, let alone win one, in over 10 years. And that's the narrative right now on Aaron Rodgers. Okay? The Packers aren't, right now, until we see what we see through the offseason, they are not better than they were last year. That doesn't mean they're bad, but they're not better. Okay? And they need to get better. Aaron Rodgers is a year older. The only thing happened to the Packers this year is that Aaron Rodgers got richer. That is it. And if you told me Aaron Rodgers would not win another Super Bowl, or we can get another one, or we can get there, I say yeah. Because what have we seen the last 10 years that make you believe that he can break through? He's gotten close to the obviously losing a bunch of NFC Championship games, but he hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl. And so that narrative is actually deserved now because it's a long sample of failure since winning the Super Bowl in 2010. Okay. Then you go to Pat Mahomes. You say, well, Pat Mahomes should be able to win one because he's still young and he has the Chiefs and Andy Reid and all that. That I agree with. However, here's the problem now. The AFC West for starters. We discussed last week with Russell Wilson going to Denver. His trek now for the next 3 to 5 years is going to be difficult. The Chiefs it's going to be hard to keep the Chiefs team together. They get a little older. The AFC West is tougher. The AFC as a whole is tougher as well too. You got Joe Burrow and the Bengals now in the mix. You got the return of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens next year. Buffalo is formidable, obviously. You're always going to figure out maybe Bill Belichick's another run. You got a lot of things going on in the AFC that's going to make the trek harder. Now, I think Mahomes will win at least one more. That's my opinion. But that take isn't a bad one. That is not a bad take. In fact, that's a take that I would put it 50-50 because, think about where we were 11 years ago when Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl against Pittsburgh. oh, he's young and he's so great, and they're going to go back and win another one, at least one more, maybe 2 or 3. He hasn't even gone back to one more. And he's had great teams for most of the last 10 years and still hasn't won one. So my assessment is this, is that I think that his trek is harder. Mahomes. And Rodgers has maybe, 2-3 years left, great years left, is assuming he stays healthy. I can't necessarily say he's in Tom Brady class of staying healthy, because Tom Brady is Tom Brady for a reason. So that's not a bad take at all. I shout out to Ashley Baker for that take. I'm going to use that for Football's Awesome episode next week when I do. I'm planning on doing it next weekend. So anyway, what else here on the docket here of topics here? There was one more football thing I want to discuss before I get to a couple of basketball things here. I'm trying to check my phone real quick, make sure. No, that's not it. That's it. Okay. Basketball. Brooklyn Nets. As is recording, Kyrie Irving in the third quarter has 60 points in Orlando. He had 40 in the first half. The Nets are scary. Even though they're the 8th seed right now currently in the East. They're most likely going to play in the play-in, because with 13-ish games left in the year before the playoffs are starting, I'm checking the standings right now. So if you're a 7 through 10 seed, you got to play in the play-in. I'm actually liking the play-in, to be honest. I think as second year in, I'm starting to actually enjoy the play-in idea. So right now, as I look at this standings here, Brooklyn is the 8th seed right now. Okay? To avoid the play-in, they have to get to the 6th seed, which means right now they are currently 3.5 games behind. 4.5 games behind Cleveland for the 6th seed, and Cleveland's playing some good basketball. So, playing a little last couple weeks, but they need the Cavs to crater the next 2 weeks to even get a chance to catch up. So, it's more than likely that Brooklyn will be in the play-in. But here's the thing, though. Kyrie's back. Now the only things that hurt Kyrie, obviously, is these mandates in New York, which I'm going to get to in a second. Kevin Durant's back. Kyrie is on a tear. The games that Kyrie's been available for to play, he's been fantastic. Okay? So, if New York undoes these really stupid mandates, honestly, that Kevin Durant called out Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, for, how is it a road team can come to New York and play a game without being vaccinated? Okay? People can come to the game unvaccinated. Okay? Kyrie Irving could be in attendance at the game unvaccinated, but he can't play the game. It's a dumb rule. Now, I don't feel sorry for Kyrie Irving at all. He made his bed. This is the hill he stands on. Lie in your bed. Okay? But both things can be right here. That Kyrie Irving don't feel bad for Kyrie Irving, but also that the rule is dumb. Beyond dumb. Okay? Stop the mandates. Now, again, if the Brooklyn Nets want to enforce this rule as well, as a private business, again, I've been saying this all, this has been my thing, it's their right. I have to like the rules, but that's what the rules they set based on their private business. I don't want the federal government overseeing that, but if a private business wants to do that, that's their right. City of New York needs to use common sense here. Eric Adams needs to really, but it's not his fault. This is the rule I think the last administration, Bill de Blasio, put in place. But still, get shit done. Get shit done, please. Let's go. Kevin Durant was right for calling him out. Obviously, I agree with what you said. I know that it was so wise to do that, but at the same time, I'm glad he did it. Someone had to say something about it. So, but yeah, change the rule. It's a dumb rule. Stop it. Like, seriously, stop. But the Nets, if I'm a Heat fan, they're number 1 in the East right now, and they're probably going to win the number 1 seed. I don't want to play Brooklyn in the first round. Hell no. I think the Nets, if Kyrie is able to play all the games, including the home games, the Nets should still, no matter what seed they are, the Brooklyn Nets should still be considered a title contender. Absolutely. Without question, should be a title contender. Should be considered one, too. Because You seen the Kyrie scene tonight in Orlando? Not against Orlando. I get it. But Kyrie goes up for 60 plus in Orlando in a moment's notice. You know how good Kevin Durant is already. I don't need to tell y'all that. Y'all already know that, how good Kevin Durant is. I don't need to sell that to you. You already know how good Kevin Durant is. There could be a problem. Like, Philly is good, Harden and Embiid. But you've seen the last couple weeks. I mean, they lost to Brooklyn last week for starters, at home, embarrassingly. And Ben Simmons' return night. Then they lost to Denver last night. Okay? They have warts. I'm a Heat fan. I love the Miami Heat. I have questions still. You know, all my friends who are Heat fans listen to this podcast are like, well, don't be that guy. No, I'm going to be that guy because I'm going to be real and honest with you about this. There's still questions. I love them to death, but there's questions. Milwaukee, obviously, is Milwaukee. You know, they're the defending champs. But they have nights where they can just sometimes fall through the wheel. Let's be real. Now, Giannis is a bad boy. We know Giannis is a great player. So I'm not going to knock him. Giannis is fantastic. And he's probably my favorite player in the league right now. Who else is Boston's good. They're on fire. They've been playing well the last couple months, but don't know if I consider them a title contender, honestly. But Brooklyn, you got Kevin Durant, you got Kyrie Irving. Now, they not lost Joe Harris for the year, but there's still enough pieces there to keep things, in place. You got to play a little better defense too, especially. But you got Kyrie Irving, you got Kevin Durant, and let's say Ben Simmons gets it together by April. Just saying he can be back next week or so. That's a problem. That team's a problem. And if you're Philadelphia and you're Miami on the top of the East, good luck. You don't want to be playing that team in the first round. Seriously, you don't want to play the team in the first round. I'm just saying. So, this weekend was really cool though because the Celtics. You mentioned the Celtics a while ago. They even though they lost to Dallas on Sunday, they had a retirement ceremony for Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen was there, and Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce actually hugged it out at the retirement ceremony, and it was really cool. Now, if you guys been following for the last decade or so, Ray Allen left Boston in 2012, went to Miami, who was at the time was still a Heat rival, and obviously Garnett and Paul Pierce have been very vocal about how they feel about Ray Allen leaving and how things have played out since then. There's been no kind words between both parties. I know they had a couple of things where they had a couple reunions in the last couple of years, and with them and Rajon Rondo and whatnot, and Ray Allen hasn't showed up, or was not invited, or whatever maybe. But they actually patched things out. I don't know if they patched things out completely, but I know publicly Kevin Garnett was very, very open, saying, Ray Allen, you're part of this and that, and it was classy. It was very nice. They all came on the court, gave him a big hug, big group hug. Paul Pierce came out and gave him a group hug. It was nice. I'm not a Celtic fan at all. You guys know this. But I, as a basketball fan, really enjoyed the big three. That big three especially, of Garnett, Pierce, and Allen. I thought those three, the synergy between those guys, just the way they bounce on each other, those are great big three. And they made the NBA fun for a couple of years too, especially, So it was nice to see that. I hope things are better now between the three parties, because things were ugly out there. They would take a shot to the media and stuff, and yeah. So hopefully things are better with them. We'll see. But that was a good. If that was a start, that's a good start. It's good to see that. So, the baseball lockout's over, thank God. And we're not going to miss any games. In fact, they're going to play 162 apparently. They found a way to make up some of those games they lost. I'm excited about baseball this year. I'm a Met fan. We got Max Scherzer and a couple other pieces and stuff. I'm still skeptical about how well they'll be this year, but it's good to see, hopefully, an opportunity to this team can hopefully crack itself into the playoffs and see what happens. They also added an extra wild card team now. In the playoffs, the DH now thing in the National League, and a couple other things here. I'm excited about it, baseball. I really am. Now, I don't typically get heavily into baseball in April because NBA playoffs. So NBA playoffs is my life, and that takes 2 months. But I love baseball. I'm looking forward to go a couple of games this year. The Mets come down here in South Florida twice a year. I was hoping to go to a spring training game before the season starts, but I doubt it's going to happen with my vacation coming this weekend and a couple of things I got to take care of. We'll see what happens. But I'm just glad it's over. I'm glad it's over. Yeah, baseball needs, it got to a point where if this lockout went longer, I mean, this could be like 94 where they lose all momentum again. Baseball's already having an image problem in terms of, not even an image problem. They're having a relevancy problem, where it's not as relevant in the mainstream as it used to be. Baseball fans going to say, oh, you're just saying that because. No. It reflects. It's a regional sport now. It's regional. It's important in certain markets, and others is not. And then when you have the best player in all of baseball doesn't even have an interest in marketing or marketing himself, which he has the right to do in Mike Trout, that makes it harder. Just saying. But I'm glad they're able to come to a deal, play ball in a couple weeks, and we'll see what happens there. So, anyway, let's talk a little politics here, somewhat. So this weekend, I actually made a point on my social media to discuss how excited I was about listening to Bill Maher. Bill Maher appeared on Ben Shapiro's podcast this past Sunday. Now, Bill Maher has had Shapiro on his show a few times the last couple of years on Real Time with Bill Maher. Ben Shapiro, if you don't know who he is, Ben Shapiro is a conservative commentator, young guy, mid-30s, very intelligent. Not a big fan necessarily of everything he says in terms of what he leans, but I find him to be very intelligent, engaging, and at least someone who's willing to talk and engage with people on opposite sides of the political spectrum, which is something I always encourage. Bill Maher, same way to the left. He's the same guy on the left. A little older, obviously a little older because he's in his 60s. Has been the liberal, the pretty much the biggest, most popular liberal comedian probably for the last couple of decades. His show, obviously HBO is a very popular show. 20 years in, and I watch it. Not much last year or so, but my wife and I have always traditionally watch his show every week just because he has good guests on there too, especially, which I love engaging with, even conservative guests I like to listen to too as well. So he was on Shapiro's podcast this week, long form version, his little Sunday sit down they call that. I love the conversation between the two. I really did. They touch on things such as climate change, which Ben Shapiro shocked me. Said he thinks climate change is real. His only issue is the way we legislate it going forward. He believes that the 2020 election was not stolen, that it was fair, free and fair. So that's something, I guess, another thing that, people may not like Shapiro, but he's a normal conservative. You just have to infuse him on certain things, And they touch on the thing about January 6th and other issues, Ukraine, all that. I just love the back and forth. I think it's so healthy to have good conversation with people you don't agree with. So I loved the conversation. I thought it was great. I'm gonna do it again. I was sharing the link to a couple of my friends who both sides of the political spectrum, liberal and conservative, that may want to listen to it. But yeah, it was great. I had a good time. Check it out. It's on Ben Shapiro's podcast or his YouTube page. Like I said, I encourage you to listen to it. It was a great back and forth. Hopefully, do it again in the near future on whatever platform I decide to do on it. All right, a couple of things we get out of here. Like I said, I told you guys that I'll have a lot to talk about today. I want to get in now because I'm going to be on vacation in a few days with my family. I don't know. I don't plan to do a podcast out there. Maybe I'll do a small podcast on there, audio only. Who knows? I have been struggling this week with waking up in the morning. No, I never have a problem waking up in the morning necessarily. I was up at 7 in the morning. But this past weekend was daylight savings again. It was March forward. And it hit me this week. I'm in my 40s. And when it's dark outside, I'm thinking, it's still 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. No big deal. No, when it's dark outside, it's 7:30 in the morning still. So the last couple of days it's been a struggle. And I hate daylight savings time. I prefer fall back over. I'm the weirdo that prefers the fall back as opposed to the march forward. I actually like when it gets dark early because it's a more of a reminiscent thing, more of a nostalgia thing. It reminds me when I lived in New York as a kid, and that would tell me that the winter is coming soon and, Santa's coming and all that. Whatever. It's innocent times for me personally. That's a personal thing for me. Don't judge me. But I just hate it. And I understand why daylight savings exists in the first place, so I'm not going to knock it in like it's the worst thing in the world. It's just annoying. And as I get older, it hits me harder every year, worse every year. So, but I heard today on Capitol Hill apparently that the Senate already passed the bill to do away with daylight savings time. That's going to the House next. To hopefully they vote for it. And I was saying earlier today that if we can't get bipartisanship on that issue, then what are we doing? Like, we have no hope for this country. If they can't get bipartisanship on daylight savings time, then we have no hope at this point. So, here's hoping that daylight savings time is no longer a thing. Pick one time, pick one issue, pick one time to stick with, and stick with it going forward. Please. Thank you very much. Finally, one more thing before I go on vacation. I want one more day of work and vacation. I went up to Orlando with the family for 4 days. Technically Legoland for a day, but my mom and I said last podcast, my mom and my stepfather rented out an Airbnb in Orlando, and we're gonna stay there as a family. Me, my mom, my stepfather, my brother's kid's supposed to come. I'm not sure they're coming or not. I know my other brothers and his kid is coming, and his girlfriend and their kids, and my sister's going too, and all that. So it's gonna be a fun time. Gonna be cooking and have a good time and fellowship with family. So we'll see if I do a podcast up there or not. We'll see. I might do some, on my YouTube page, we do some footage and stuff. We'll see what happens. So I've spoken out last couple of years about how I don't really enjoy ESPN's First Take anymore because I, just got too generic and, whatever. And then obviously, last couple of years I somewhat enjoyed it because I enjoy Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith, and that was kind of a nice little back and forth. So I actually used to watch it here and there because I enjoy those two. And then obviously last year we saw Stephen A. and Max split up. Stephen A. was vocal about not wanting to work with Max anymore, whatever. And now it's now Stephen A.'s show pretty much, and he has this mix of people comes in certain days, and it's not my liking. However, recent weeks he started having Chris Mad Dog Russo on Wednesdays. Now, Chris Russo, if you don't know who he is, Chris Russo was the co-host, was actually the host with Mike Francesa in New York, WFAN. Very popular, Mike and the Mad Dog. Very popular radio show from 1989 all the way through 2000. I think it was 2007. Mad Dog's been doing his own thing on Sirius Radio since then. He has his own channel, especially Mad Dog Unleashed and the Mad Dog Station. But Stephen A's had him on the show every Wednesday now. And, Russo's nuts. As someone like myself who's a big sports radio, nut, and has been since I was 11 years old, and I follow media and I follow sports radio and the ebbs and flows of what goes on in media. I'm one of those guys. Chris Russo someone I always, I've gone back and forth to some degree. Like, he can be a little much at times because he's very loud. He's dedicated to sports. He's dedicated to the medium, but he can be a bit much at times. But I started missing that a little bit now recently, and I'm watching him on with Stephen A. And look, they're both loud and boisterous, but for some reason this works though. For some reason this mix with him and Russo, Stephen A. and Russo, it's it's been fun. I really enjoyed it. I don't know what it is. I really enjoyed it. So I've been looking forward to Wednesdays now, watching, I don't watch the entire show. What I watch, how I watch a lot of these media shows like First Take and, Undisputed and, Pat McAfee show, and is I watch the clips they put on on YouTube, and I just watch the long clips they put on there. Because I don't have enough time to dedicate a day to watch the entire 2-hour show. I just don't. Now, I may decide to do it on Wednesdays now before with Russo because it's Russo. But he's been fantastic to watch on First Take. I've really enjoyed his appearances on there. So, every Wednesday, Mad Dog Wednesday. I don't have a name for it yet, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Listening to those two go back and forth. But yeah. I hope I wouldn't be opposed to those two having him being permanent every day. Wouldn't be opposed to it. Because Chris Russo, at least for Chris Russo anyway, the sports takes he has, his things he says, it's not manufactured at all. That's the thing. as abrasive as he could be at times, and some things he says are ridiculous, and some things the way he acts out could be a bit ridiculous. It's coming from, it's authentic. It's coming from a authentic place. And that's the thing. A lot of times on First Take or Undisputed, some of these takes are just manufactured. Not in Chris Russo's mind. Chris Russo means what he says. He really means what he says. And it's just been a nice vibe to the show on Wednesday. So, but that's kind of what I've been enjoying on First Take lately. So, and tomorrow's Wednesday, so we'll listen to those two go at it. I'm looking forward to it. So, anyway, I think that's it for now. Once again, rest in peace to Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, Chico, hey yo. I said sad day. But I am on Twitter at eachperson7, Ernest Making Podcast, of course. I think I'm doing a basketball pod tonight also with my boys Zach and Chris before we wrap up the week. We'll see. I'm on vacation next couple days. So we'll get back to you, just give a review on vacation on the next pod. I'm going to try ramp things up in the next couple weeks with podcasts, not just with me talking solo, but I got a lot of conversations I haven't in place. I want to talk to people with about just life in general, friends of mine. I want to have on a podcast, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So trying to keep things simple here around here, So anyway, we'll talk to you guys soon. Love you guys. Stay up and enjoy the rest of your week, and see ya.